I read a total of 12 books in April. Let's talk about them. First books that I read in April were part of the Assassination Classroom manga series. I read books 3 to 9. If you don't know what these books are about, it's about a classroom of kids that are assigned to assassinate their teacher. Their teacher is an octopus who can fly at Mach 20 and destroyed 3/4 of the moon. And if they don't kill him by the end of this school year, he's going to destroy the Earth. So I rated the third book in the series 3 out of 5. The fourth book in the series 2 out of 5. The fifth book in the series 3 out of 5. The sixth book 2 out of 5. The seventh book I rated a 4 out of 5. The eighth book and the ninth book I also rated a 4 out of 5. So they're not the best books, and they're obviously on a different rating scale than regular books. I wouldn't rate one of the Assassination Classroom books a 5 and then compare it to a fiction book that I rated 5, because they're completely different. The next book that I read in April was You Don't Have to Be Everything, edited by Diana Whitney. It is a book comprised of many poems written by young teenage girls. It's kind of just like I want to say becoming of age book, like book of poems. It talks about stress, depression, anxiety, things like that. I rated it a 2 out of 5. Don't get me wrong, all of the poems were very lyrical and well written. I just didn't connect to any of the poems personally. The next book I read in April was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. If you don't know what this book is about, it is about the main character, Nick Carraway, who lives beside this super rich guy named Jay Gatsby. And it is Nick's perspective of the world, going through his day-to-day life, being the neighbor of this super rich guy. And there's drama and conflicts, and it's just such an interesting book. It's surprising. The things that they say in this book are very out of pocket, and you wouldn't expect people to say things like that. But it was written in 1920, so lots of the things they say in this book are normal for that time, but now it would be unheard of. I rated this book a 5 out of 5. The next book that I read in April was The $100 Startup by Chris Dielbo. This book was written to help people live their lives better. It talks about many other people's stories, from going from working in a typical office cubicle workplace to running their own business and getting rich, essentially. Either rich in happiness or money or both. But this book was very interesting. I don't know how much I actually learned from it, but listening to other people's stories is very interesting and very motivational. I rated this book a 4 out of 5. The next book I read in April was The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is the second book. Well, this is the prequel to They Both Died at the End. The beginning of the book was a little bit slow, and I didn't really know where it was going to go. It didn't seem like it was going to take off and something was going to happen. But was I ever wrong? This book is so emotional. I cried probably 6 times throughout this book. It is about Deathcast, which is a company made to call people 24 hours, within 24 hours of their death. So if you get a call from Deathcast, you will be dying within the next 24 hours. And it's telling the story of the main character going through his life when Deathcast was first created. I rated this book a 4 out of 5, and I would have rated it a 5, but it is kind of, well, it's not kind of, it's almost exactly like the first book, like they both die at the end, because the relationship between the main character in this book and his best friend is exactly the same as the main character in They Both Die at the End and his best friend, and it's almost an exact replica. The plots of the stories are different, but they both have romance, and it's almost the exact same situation. The next book I read in April was The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was such a good book. I was not excited to read this book. I did not have very high hopes for it because I generally don't like YA books. Okay, we're back. The camera died. Anyway, if you don't know what this book is about, it is about the main character named Avery who inherits a fortune from this random guy. And she has to survive the family of this random guy who did not inherit the fortune. And there's a lot of drama, there's a romance subplot, there's so much excitement in this book. Yeah, you should read this book. And then I'm currently reading a book called Big Enough by Lee Lefevre. Don't know how to say it. I'm almost halfway through. I plan to finish it today, but I don't even know where it is right now. But yeah, it's about growing a business that fits with your lifestyle, that provides you happiness and not just money. So far it's pretty good, but I'm not done, so I don't have a rating for it. Did I say? I rated The Inheritance Games 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, let's talk about my May TBR. I am very excited for this month's TBR. I have lots of books, so it's a little ambitious of me, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, let me just unstack the stack real quick. The first book I have is the 10th book of the Assassination Classroom series. That's all I'm going to say about it. You already know the plot. The next book I have on my TBR for May is High Fidelity by Nick Hornby. This book is on my puzzle behind me that has 50 classic books that everyone should read. And I bought this book in Italy, but it's in English. Don't speak Italian. And I have no idea what it's about. But it says, a triumphant first novel, true to life and moving, and a thoroughly funny, thoroughly charming book. And it's not that long, so I'm pretty excited to read this one. The next book we have on my May TBR is Odin's Child by Siri Patterson. No, Odin's Child by Siri Peterson. This is part of the Raven's Ring series. I don't actually know how many books are in the series, but this is the first one. It is about a girl named Herka that learns she is the child of Odin. which is not a good thing in this book. So she's like being hunted down, she was banished, and it's all about that. So I'm pretty excited to read this book. It's a little chunky, but I'm pretty excited, and I'm more excited to read the rest of the series, because who doesn't love having like all of the books in a series on their bookshelf, you know? That is the third book in my May TBR. Next we have two nonfiction books. Company of One by Paul Jarvis and The Book Business by Mike Shatskin and Robert Paris Riger. I don't know. These are both nonfiction books about businesses, and I'm pretty excited to read them. That's all I have to say about these books. The next book is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I bought this book in Italy, not realizing that it's a romance book, and I don't really like romance books. So that's why I'm reading it, because I want to explore genres that I don't usually read. And I don't know what this book is about, but I've been told that it's a romance book. But on the back it talks about kidnapping. I don't know, man. We'll see how that goes. The next book on my TBR is probably the book that I'm the most excited for May. And it's probably going to be one of the first books that I read. Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is about Carrie Soto, who is a retired tennis player who comes out of retirement to keep her, and I've heard that there are father-daughter relationship tropes, I don't know if that's the right word, and that I'm so excited for this book. I have not heard one bad thing about this book, and I am so excited. This next book I have looked for a few months in many different bookstores, and I could never find, and then I finally found it. Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. You've most likely heard of this book. It's a popular book talk book. I don't know what it's about. It's fantasy. I'm excited. The words are small, though. But I'm excited for this book. I don't know what it's about. I think it's like royal families, or there's kingdoms. I'm excited to read this book. Last but not least, on my May TBR for this year is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Shannon Nope. The last book on my May TBR for this year is The Priory of the Orange Tree. The Orange Tree. Is English even my languages? Where's my fish? The last book on my TBR for May is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Yeah, I don't know why I picked 7 books and this book, because it's, hang on, 799 pages. So she's a big book. If you don't know what this book is about, you're not the only one, because I don't either. This is a fantasy book. I've watched so many YouTube videos of people reading this book, but everyone that reads it says that it's so hard to understand, like the first 150 to 200 pages. It's just world building, and like you're trying to comprehend all of the people and the places and the connections and communities, and I'm so excited to learn. I also own the second book in this series, and I haven't read this one. But it was 30% off, so how could I not? Right? Anyway, yeah. that concludes my April wrap-up and May TBR for this year. Thank you for watching.